Here you go. For the first question, all you have to do is take the price of the house, take away the down payment. That is what we call the mortgage or the loan, right? That is what we're borrowing essentially. And you multiply that by 5.66, which we got from our table. This may 566 divided by 1,000, right? So I would strongly suggest you first figure out what this is, this difference. Then you go multiply and then divide it, and you get 1730.55. So if you did the work and you get the correct answer, you get a mark for that. So 2 marks, sorry, 2 marks in total, 1 for work, 1 for answer. Next, you're asked to figure out how much interest was paid on the first month. We're still talking about the same question, right? So we figure out what our mortgage was. We multiply by the interest rate divided by 100. Interest rate, not table rate. The interest rate is 3.25%. If you divide it by 100, also make sure it's divided by 100, not 1,000. You gotta have those little details down, okay? Then you divide it by 12 to get 828.07. So from that payment of 1730, this much goes towards interest. That's the answer right there. Okay, 1 mark, I guess, for this one. So three marks for this page. Back side, it's asking for the total interest paid over the life of the mortgage. So we multiply by the payment by 12 because it's monthly, and in this case it's a 20-year mortgage. So this is how much you pay the bank. By the time you're done your mortgage, you will have paid them this much money. You subtract what you borrowed from them at the beginning, and that difference is the interest. It's their profit. Okay, so it's 109,582. Why 2 marks, you might ask? 1 mark for figuring out total paid to the bank, and then there's 1 more for the final answer, which means you have to subtract the loan from it. And next, this one is basically just checking for understanding, right? If your payment is 687 and 464 goes towards the interest, then the principal is just payment minus, this should have been lowercase I, right? I'm changing my strategies over the years, right? Lowercase I is like the first month payment interest, right? Which is this. So you basically just subtract, and you end up saying that $222.25 goes towards the principal. So remember that a payment is always made up of interest and principal. So you're given the whole bar and the interest, so you just have to subtract these two to get your principal. And there it is. Okay. 3 marks for this as well. Yeah. So 3 and 3 is 6. For a total of 6. So make sure your name and last name is on there. And we will continue. We'll do insurance. Calculating insurance. Home insurance, apartment insurance, or tenant insurance. Okay, so here we go. Sabine purchased a home valued at $299,000. That's the value of the home. She saved up 1.8% of the purchase price for any additional expenses. Has Sabine saved up enough money? Show your work. This is one that is probably going to be, this is a 2-mark question, I'm not going to lie, right? This is 2 marks associated here. So what would you have to do here? Naturally, these are any additional costs that are coming her way. Okay, so let's add this up. I don't think I assigned this, did I? Let's add it up real quick. 450 and 150 at 600 plus 350 is 950. And that's where my mental math ends. $64.15. Needed for additional costs. Okay, that's how much is needed. So my approach is going to be this: 0.018, that's 1.8%. I'm going to multiply that by 299, and I'll see how much this is. If this number is bigger than this, or exactly the same, then we're good, right? She's saved up enough. So 0.018 times 299. Right? Didn't save up enough. Okay. Sabine did not, just be clear, right? Did not save up enough. She needs to save up an additional. Let's do the math here. I'm going to go 64.15 minus 53.82. 1,033 needed, right? So she needs to save up an additional 1,033, okay, to have enough. So that would be every once in a while they throw in one, like a question like this, where there are different approaches. You could have saved up. You could have also done it this way, where you take the 64.15 and you divide it by 299, multiply that by 100, right? So technically, these expenses amount to 2.15%, but you only saved up 1.8, right? So there's a problem there. So that could have been done as well. It's really up to you how you want to do these types of questions. Just be very clear, right? Tell me what's going on here, how you arrived to your conclusion, and don't just leave me. A lot of students just do this. They do this. It's like, no, not enough. Right? So be clear. It's like, needs this much more, right? Because we don't know if you understand which one, right? Which one she has and which one is, how much does she actually need? Like, we need to understand that, okay? Okay, so this is just kind of like side gig. So let's keep going. We'll go to insurance here. We're gonna go all the way to page 47. You have to pay attention. Once you get insurance, it's really just as simple as plugging in. Plug in and you're good to go. Okay? Don't tell him he wasn't paying attention. Okay. All right, insurance costs. There's tenant insurance. That's the first one we're gonna cover. Tenant insurance is for people renting. Just make sure you highlight because they stand out when you review this. And it prevents you from losing your contents, right? Or your personal belongings. So I'm going to tell you this. If you rent, you will, if there's a fire in the building, which happens more often than you would like to know, like if your neighbor, there's a fire and that fire goes and sweeps through the building, your stuff is not covered. The landlord has insurance for the building, but not your stuff. So you need to get tenant insurance if you want your stuff to be covered. And it's not that much, a couple $100 a year. So $200, $300 a year to protect your stuff, all right? You should consider tenant insurance if you're renting. and it covers your belongings one more time, but it's also known, they're also called perils. Okay, perils are, that's the technical term for your belongings. Tenant insurance also covers you for potential liability to surrounding structures. So if you, whatever reason, you get you forget to turn off your bath, like your tub, you fill it up and you plug the drain so that it doesn't drain out. You want to fill it up right to the rim, you forget about it, and the water flows over and it goes through to your neighbor, you are liable, right? Like, so you'll be liable. So this will also cover you against that liability. Okay. Tenant insurance is for people renting. Make sure you understand that, renting a house or an apartment. So tenant insurance is cheaper because it only covers your stuff, not the building. Okay, so that you can use that as an advantage when you're saying why should you rent? Insurance is cheaper. You can say that. Okay. Here's your policy. Is this on your pink? This one is in your pink as well. Pink table. So grab your pink table because you're gonna need this for most ACs. You should have this pink table on you. Okay. So here it is. But I don't want you to write on this because you're not gonna be able to do that on the exam either. So just have this ready to go. We're gonna write on this one on page 47 though. We can write on there. That was not recorded. Never happened. All right. So the tenant package policy. I'm going to tell you this. You're going to have to pick one value from the orange section. So I'm going to take my orange highlighter and I'm going to say, whenever it's insurance time, I will say, you must pick one value. Okay. So you're going to have to go into that orange section and pick one of those numbers, one of these values for sure, not even a question, right? And all of these numbers, like, so for example, if you have $40,000 worth of stuff, no, don't worry, they don't come and actually evaluate your stuff. They'll ask you how much coverage do you need. And let's say you have like a lot of expensive electronics, you have like jewelry, instruments, laptops, whatever. So you're saying, hey, I want about 40 grand worth of coverage. Then you go over here, watch this. And then, so you would say, well, it's either 212 under a standard insurance. You're looking up right on the screen. Or what is it? What's the other option? 269 under comprehensive. So those are your two options. And the question will have to tell you which one of these you're going to pick. Which one do you think is going to be a better coverage if you just look at the names? Standard or comprehensive? Standard means it's like basic. Comprehensive, it's like it covers more, and it's comprehensive, like it just no questions asked almost. So that's what it is. Don't quote me on this. You'd have to ask your insurance broker. But I think if you travel and someone steals your phone, it's covered under insurance quite often. There's a trick. There's a deductible. What's the deductible if you get any kind of insurance and you make a claim? What's your deductible? It's on the chart. $500. So if you make the claims like, hey, somebody stole my phone, you're gonna have to pay $500. So you're gonna have to decide: do I want to part with $500? Is the phone worth $500, or am I just gonna go get a new one, right? Because yeah, they might give you $1,000, but you paid 500, so you really only good for 500. You know what I mean? So you gotta kind of see if it's worth it to make a claim. So I will highlight that part though. Make sure you understand that There's a $500 deductible. I will make a note here. You pay $500 if you make a claim. And this is to deter you from just making a claim every time something happens. You're like, hey, I'm gonna make a claim. They don't want that, right? They just want you to make a claim when it's necessary. Yes. They don't want to deal with all the insurance claims and they want to make money. So the more times you say, I'm not going to claim it, they're making money because you're still paying the premium. All right. All right. $500 deductible is your coverage amount. Here's where it gets a little tricky. You're with me on this one? Let's say you don't want the $500 deductible policy. Make sure you look up here. I'm never going to explain it as well as I do today, by the way. Like, I take my time today and then later it's just calculating. If you want a $200 deductible, that's a different color that I'm using. What do you need to do to this premium here? Increase it by 10%. So you'll just multiply it by 1.10. So I actually do this. You multiply it by 1.10%. 1.10. So if your coverage is $324, that's automatically a $500 deductible. If you're like, no, I want a $200 deductible, you need to multiply it by 1.10. That's what we're going to do, okay, if that happens. Another thing here, make an arrow. This maxes out. This 75,000 is the max coverage that is on the chart. See that? But does it mean that they won't cover anything that's over 75,000? It does not mean that. I will make an arrow on the side here. This is what I call overage, overage, right? So that, like, this is when you're over, you're gonna have to pay that. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna highlight that this is for each additional $1,000 of coverage that you want, you need to pay $450 extra. Okay, $450 extra. Okay, this is one thing that I need to update you on because my key will be different in some instances. Insurance used to be taxed PST, but now it's not taxed anymore. They got rid of it. So I'm going to say here, insurance is not taxed. And by the time I found out, I had already ordered this booklet, so we're going to have to just make some adjustments. It makes it easier, actually, way easier. So I'm glad that they got rid of it. Okay, so let's go. This is the formula. You need to have this on your study sheet. Because this is the formula that I made because students, this is the one unit, the one section that students begged me to give them a formula. And this is the best I could come up with. So we are going to get rid of taxes. Okay, so make sure your formula here has this crossed off. Okay, just make sure that's all crossed off. And so also this, the insurance here, the star here, make sure you get rid of that. You don't want taxes to show up. So you just want to highlight this part here. And I know it looks scary, but I will explain this to you. And I think after a while, you're going to be just fine with that. It shrinks, it changes. Okay. Okay, here we go. I'll just make a note. Don't add taxes. Okay, don't add taxes. Tell yourself that one more time because it has been removed. The tax has been removed. Okay, Joan rents. So let's do the first one. Highlight the important parts. Joan rents an apartment. That's important. That means that we're tenant insurance. Okay. You wish to buy 65,000 worth of insurance, which is standard, and you want a $500 deductible. What is the annual insurance premium after tax? So this is going to be somewhat annoying. I'm not going to lie to you. Like we're just going to get rid of the after tax. Every time it shows up, we're just going to omit it. Okay. So here we go. You ready? The formula calls for insurance, and I'm going to copy this first. You have your table rate plus over. You have a dollar amount per $1,000, and then you go times 1.10. Okay. This is the fun part. You ready? Do we need to worry about adding 10% taxes? Because this would be the 10% is only necessary if it's a $200 deductible. Let me ask you this. Is this a $200 deductible? No. So you do this. It's very satisfying. Okay. You get rid of that part because it's not happening. We're not dealing with a $200 deductible. 65,000. Does that get us over the max? Go look at your chart. 65,000 is like right there. We're not past the 75,000, correct? So we go to our formula here and we're like, we don't need that. We're not over. We are not over 75K, right? So that's why I crossed that over. So all you're left with is what? The table rate. It's that the orange section. This is the orange section. So I'm actually going to highlight this orange. Same with this one up here, maybe. Okay, that is the one you must pick. Okay. So let's go get it. What is it? Use your pink one if you need to. We are taking 65,000 and we're going standard, correct? So it's the is that 315? Hard to read. It is 315. So you just go 315, that's it. What? That is all we had to do, just grab that number? Yes. Okay. That is how much you would pay per year. Yearly amounts, okay? Okay, one more. Is insurance a one-time expense or is it ongoing? Unfortunately, it's not one time, but appreciate it's ongoing. Technically, you should be having insurance all the time. If you buy a house, your bank will not give you a mortgage unless they see proof of insurance. Because guess what? What if your house burns down? The bank still wants their money. You're not going to be like, oh, I don't have a house anymore. Sorry, right? No, they're like, no, we gave you 350 grand. You're going to pay up, right? So you want insurance, especially when you own. Here we go. Dimitri is currently renting. That's important. I'm just going to do the renting part because we're in tenant insurance. You'd like to purchase insurance to cover the contents of your apartment and needs $90,000 worth of belongings. He would like to purchase comprehensive insurance with a $200 deductible. Here we go. This one is going to be there's going to be more moving parts to this one. So insurance. Let's just make a quick table plus over You know what? Let's call this over 75K. That's what this really is. Right? And then we're going to go dollar amount per thousand times 1.10. That's what the formula that I gave you calls for. This is the standard formula. Do we need this part? Yes, because it's a $200 deductible. So we need this. Okay, we need that. Check. Are we going to have to worry about this part here being over? And the answer is yes. You're at 90,000. You're over. Okay. We also need to fill this in. This is our table rate. Let's go get it. Okay. Somebody give me the table rate for this one. It's comprehensive. 90,000. What do you think it would be? Comprehensive, right? This is how it goes. You grab the 454 because you max out. Like it gets to 75,000. That's the 454. We write that down. And remember the 550. Remember that number. Okay. So you go 454 plus. This is the 550. That one goes in here. 550 for every $1,000 of additional coverage. You're going to put that in brackets like this. Don't forget about the square bracket. Has that scared you? Maybe I should have explained why I'm using square brackets, but I will do that once I start working through this. Okay. What goes in here? How much over are we? Like, because this one covers 75K, we are $15,000 over our 90,000, right? So watch this. I'm going to do this on the side here. Do this on the side. You go 90,000 minus 75,000. That gives you $15,000 of what we call overage. This is very important. This 15,000 is going to come in here. So you put that 15,000 in there. And then you go times 1.10. And now I want you to all grab a calculator because this is where things go south. Students are able to beautifully fill in. What happened to my calculator? Oh, here it is. They fill this all in perfectly, but then when it's time to compute this, that's when it derails. Okay? So here we go. Grab your calculator. You're gonna keep the square brackets, okay? You're not gonna remove them. You're gonna go 454 because nothing happens to it, and then you're gonna go plus. You're gonna calculate this part right here. So you go 15,000 times 5.5 divided by 1,000. And that is 8250. You see that? 8250. Close that square bracket. Times 1.10. Don't drop it because you want a $200 deductible. So this part right here reduced to just 8250. So now it's a lot less stuff happening in there. So once you have the 8250 there, you just go plus 454, and that's 536.50, but you're not done yet. You're not done yet. Okay. This part is 536.50. Let's put our phones away, guys. Okay, I'm explaining here. We can do phones later, all right? You can watch me on YouTube later. Okay. All right. So that's where the total amount comes in, all right? 590, 15. That's your premium. This is your yearly premium. 590, 15. Question. What if, I'll let you copy it because somewhere you're copying, I want you to copy it. So write it down. And then I'm gonna throw in some things that could go, that could be different. Okay, so here it is. If this question, you're paying attention, right? If this question had said $500 deductible, you would have omitted this whole time. You would not have worried about doing the times 1.10. In fact, that would have been your answer right there, the 536.50. But if you want that $200 deductible, it's going to cost you more. Okay. Also, look at this part right here. This first part right here, this is always going to cover you up to 75,000, and then we need to decide how much are we over by, because we're paying extra for each $1,000 that we're over. So you gotta think of it this way. Let me go back to my table. If you go past the 75 grand, you're gonna have to grab either this or that, one of these two numbers, and then multiply what you're over by either 450 or 550, and then obviously divide it by 1,000. Okay. So you know what? I could do a bunch of examples, but it wouldn't help as much as you trying this yourselves. Okay, so I'm gonna pause here for a bit.